1,000. What page is that, please? What's the final? I'm looking, the third page, right? Okay,
Line says $74,858,524. That's the town manager's proposed
all right.
budget.
Very
Okay,
good.
thank you. All right. I call to order the Town Council regular session. The time is 5:10, and the date is Monday, March 17th. If we could please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Could we have the roll call, please, Dale? Here.
Council Vice President McAtee.
Here.
Councilman Donnelly.
Here.
Councilwoman Keeling.
Here.
Councilman O'Neill.
Here.
All members present.
Thank you. We have one item on the agenda. This is new business, a resolution adopting the fiscal year 2014-50 Town Council preliminary budget. So, Steve, do you want us to start with the motion first, and then we'll have discussion on those additional items, or you want us to jump into the additional items that need discussion?
I would suggest that the council place a motion on the floor for the adoption of the town council's recommended preliminary budget in the amount of $74,858,524. Once you have a motion on the floor and duly seconded, then you should entertain proposals from fellow councilpersons for potential amendments, either to add to or to reduce the number. I would suggest that you not deal with more than one item at a time. Have that item voted up or down. It's also important to note that if someone proposes an amendment on a certain line item, if that motion were to fail, other motions on that line item are also proper before the board. So if somebody says, I want to raise something by $5,000, and there's not a affirmative vote on that, somebody can then ask to amend that same line item by $4,000 or so on. Conversely, the same could be done as far as reductions. So my point to you is, put the main budget on the floor and then debate each and every item that the council feels is appropriate as far as amendments either up or down on that budget.
Could we have a motion, please?
I move that we adopt the town council's preliminary budget in the amount of $74,858,524.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. At this time, I'm just going to hold that vote, and we'll talk about the different proposals. So we have 7 that we've talked about in prior meetings, and today is the night where we finalize. So, does anyone want to make a motion on number 1, town council stipend?
I'll make a motion that the town council stipend be held as it is in this current year at $11,000 with no increase.
Do we have a second?
Is that what it is, 11,000? I mean, we have a recommended $15,083, which is in your budget, Steve, so I just want to make sure that's the right amount.
Okay, well, if there's no amendment being proposed, there's really no reason to
No
take
need to
action.
vote.
Are you asking to increase it by 5, Jim?
I'm asking that it be level
Level
funded.
funded.
11,000.
Yeah,
So what I'm saying is that since you've got a motion on the floor to adopt the budget as presented to you, if there's no change on that line item, you can move to the next item.
okay, yeah, it's just confusing, because as
Yeah.
Carol said, there's 15,000 somewhere else, there's 11,000 here, so,
Well, the reason it's 11,000, Jim, is that the 15,083 is inclusive of the FICA, overtime, materials, and miscellaneous expenses that are part of the town council
Right.
account.
right.
The part-time salaries is $13,500, of which $2,500 is for the camera operator. The $11,000 is the amount that's in there. So it's, the only
it's-
thing that we put here was the question was on the council's stipend,
Right.
not the bottom line
Right, yeah,
of the
pure
town council.
stipend for the five of us, okay, I maintain level funding of $11,000 from that account.
So I think what, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, I think if it's just going to stay the same, we have no motion. Are you good with that?
Right.
Yes,
Okay, so there's no motion. Do you want to withdraw your motion?
yeah, I'll withdraw it.
Okay. And whoever seconded it is okay with withdrawing?
Nobody
I
seconded.
don't think anyone seconded it.
We didn't get
Okay.
that far.
All right. Does anybody want to jump in, or do we want to take them in order?
Number 2, I will move to increase the probate judge's part-time salary from $4,000 to $8,000. That's a $4,000 increase. As I said before, I think that he's grossly underpaid, and he puts in a certain amount of time, and the $8,000 is reflective of the hours that he puts in, and a salary that would be commensurate with the work that he does.
And I will second that, and I passed out to the council members tonight. Two ways that can be done here. I wanted to take the $3,260 increase from the legal services retainer account, plus I required $740 more to come up with the $4,000 for the 8. But I believe that increase, $4,000, would bring that judge to approximately $67 per hour, well under the criminal, well under the municipal legal services costs. So I will second the $8,000 with that. But what I passed out tonight, if there was a compromise, I was willing to do it at the $7,000 number. But at the moment, with what I went through with all the towns and cities, what they pay their folks, you can see it on page 3. I have the averages. $27,150 for the 10 common cities and towns and locals, an average of $8,424 each. And if you equalize with South Kingstown's population of $30,700, that brings it up to $9,525. So I think $8,000 is fair, and so I will second that.
Okay, we have motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, I really do not want other monies touched out of the legal staff. I'm not sure if the second page, Jim, what you got highlighted here is where the reductions from the
Excuse
other.
me?
Correct, yes, the legal staff, I reduced at $3,260. I can never figure out the probate judge at $4,306, because in some of the paperwork in our big manual here, it's got $4,000, here it's got
But the-
$4,306.
Jim,
I'm
there's
sorry,
no
Steve?
motion on the floor to
Yeah,
reduce
the motion on the floor is the
uh,
$8,000, so just
to
answering.
reduce the
But I want
town
to
council's
clarify for
preliminary
Jim.
budget.
The salary at this point, the stipend is $4,000.
$1,000, okay.
7.65% of the $4,000 is $306, which is the FICA
Okay.
that's associated with that position.
All right, thank you.
So again, what we're dealing with, just as we were with the council stipend, is that you're going to, if you increase from 4,000 to 8,000, then we will also need to increase from $306 to
$712, whatever.
$612.
Yep, okay, thank you, yep.
not
Guys,
that-
stay with the second.
But the motion that's on the floor, I want to make sure that we understand. The motion on the floor, as we understand it, has nothing to do with the legal staff at this point, but rather just the $4,000
Correct.
increase.
Correct, correct.
Because we already have all of that other, that you wanted to take away from in the original budget.
Right.
All right.
If it came to that, I'm seconding Carol from up to $8,000, so I'm seconding her motion.
Meg, did you want to say something?
No, I just have a question, because I'm really naive to this in terms of what probate does. How many hours a week is this position to the town? And I know it's not sitting in front of the table looking at probate. There's things behind the scene that
I
he
asked
also
that
does.
question, Meg, of Judge Merlin O'Keefe, and he said he puts in approximately 10 hours a month. So, you know, one day one Thursday a month, he sits as the probate court judge. Other times, he's researching, other times he's doing emergency guardianships or appointments.
No,
So,
that's what I wanted to understand, because when you break that
That's
down
what
by
he
cost.
said, his average time was about 10 hours a month.
Perfect, thank you.
So I think the last time we discussed this, I was saying that if he does 10 hours a month and he gets $4,000 a year, that came to approximately $33.33 an hour, so that's why I proposed the increase.
Yes, yep, I understand, absolutely.
I guess the only question that I have, and Dale, you could probably be the one to answer it, is that 10-hour a month usually what we have, most people in the past have put in, or has it increased, stayed the same, decreased? Would you even know that? Okay. I was going to support the 2,000, and now the motion is for 4,000, so other people need to weigh in, and I'm willing to go with the good of the all. So can we have more conversation on this?
I was more willing to go for the 2,000 myself. That's kind of what I was looking at again.
And my role here in this seat would be ideal for all of these to go 500. So, I was hoping for some kind of a compromise. I mean, I really think that makes us all look good if we do 500. So, but this one may not look like it. So, Meg, you going to weigh in? What do you want to do?
I'm okay with an increase, I am perfectly okay with an increase, and being his first time around as a junior rookie myself here on the council, I think he is entitled to an increase. If we have to weigh the motions, let's work in the middle and do 3. And then we can always look at something next
I
year.
like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think
But-
that may bring us all together with a 500, but this motion would have to either be withdrawn or we vote on it and then a new motion, so what do you want to do?
Is that-
That's what we have to vote on it.
Are you all right with 3?
Yeah.
All right.
So can we withdraw this
Jim?
motion and put another one? Jim?
Yeah, I can
it's up to
withdraw the
you.
motion.
Oh.
I could do that, or I could amend
I think I was
Carol's
the one who
motion
moved
to
it.
make it 3,000, and look for a second on that.
I think I have to amend my own motion, either
Oh, okay.
withdraw it or something, Jim.
All right.
I can do that.
All right.
Is it better
Okay.
withdrawing
I
it and making
will-
a new motion, Steve, or it doesn't matter?
I don't think it matters.
She can amend her own motion.
I can
Okay.
amend my own motion. I'll amend it to 3,000 in the spirit of compromise.
I think that's what that's the key to this functionality of this town council in comparison to a lot of other town councils.
All right, I'll second that.
So we have motion and a second to increase it for 3,000. Any further discussion? No? Ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Probate judge gets an additional 3,000
And we will also increase the FICA associated with it.
plus FICA.
FICA.
All right. Yeah. All right. Thank you. I feel good about this. The third one is the education exchange. I'd like to make a motion, to increase the education exchange by 1,000.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any discussion?
No, I absolutely agree.
Yeah, I was very impressed with their efforts with a lot of the high school kids.
Yeah.
I would certainly strongly endorse that amount.
They provide a much-needed service.
And 1,000.
1,000.
Ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And does someone want to make a motion for Southern Rhode Island Chamber?
I'm going to make a motion to increase the Southern Rhode Island Chamber of Commerce stipend from 8,000, well, not stipend, what do we call this?
Just say increase by 1,000.
Increase from 8,000 to 9,000, so that would be an increase of 1,000.
I second that.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 5 is the Wakefield Village Association.
I'd like to make a motion to increase the Wakefield Village Association from 2,000, which they currently receive, to 3,000. That's an increase of $1,000.
I'll second that.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. I may need 1 second to grab a new pen, because this one just died.
I have another one in my pocketbook.
Thank you.
I have another one.
Thank you. I'm going to make a motion for Washington County Regional Planning Council for an additional 2,000, which brings it up to the 6,000 for the dues that is paid by all of the larger towns. And I just have some information with, that Mr. O'Neill asked at 2 meetings ago, Jim. It was this 30,000 for the
80.
earned income.
30,000 up to 80.
The 30,000 was the energy project, that was, and the IT project that they had going, and it was mostly Westerly, for a project that they had going for Westerly. And so that was the 30,000, that was the question that, right.
But it was 80,000, it was a jump to 80,000.
Yeah, I'm hoping that that's maybe some of the streetlights things that's gonna go on. So anyways, that was that, and I just want everybody to know that our outside agencies all do not get invited to the meeting with the Human Services. In talking to Steve, because I said to Jeff Broadhead, you know, why didn't you come Wednesday night? And the agencies that I guess Andy works for with the outside agencies get information on when it's at our table, but Washington County did not get an invitation to come for that Wednesday meeting. And I think next year, all of the outside agencies, you know, should get invited rather than just the one. So anyways, I'm making a motion for 2,000. The work that's being done is outstanding. So I don't know if I have a second.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? So we have a motion and a second.
I'm willing to give 1,000. I think that's what we discussed the last time, and I'm willing to do that.
Jim?
Yeah, I'm willing to go to 1,000, but you know, I've got to honestly tell you, I really felt at the last meeting scolded by Mr. Broadhead. I was embarrassed. I don't like being talked down to. I wasn't thanked for the past money that we'd put into that. And frankly, I was going to maybe hold steady on the budget. I'm willing to go up $1,000, but I've never had anyone come before the council, and especially a lot of my friends on the school committee, and especially after a hard-fought, difficult budget to put together with the school committee. I was frankly very upset, and I was almost going to ask him to leave the microphone and get out of the room. I've never been talked down to like that in my entire 14 years in the council. I'll go 1,000, but that's all I'd consider.
Okay, and I didn't feel as though I was talked down to, but, you know, I respect the way that you had perceived it. So I'm going to still hopefully get 2,000. Meg?
I'm just still on the fence with this because the majority of the cities and towns, the towns who are involved with this have stepped up to the plate with their contribution. But my concern rests with the fact that the funding, I don't know if the $1,000 is going to really make a difference for them. So I'm concerned unless they don't get other monies coming in to facilitate what they want to do, if it's going to be a productive use of our funds. And that's something I need to know more about.
I can tell you that the funds are really tight with Washington County Regional Planning Council. There are you know, hopefully money's coming in from Rhode Island Foundation, we won't find out. And I would hate to see this streetlights project, you know, go under. We have enough funding for, you know, not enough money to last for the whole entire year, so that's why I'm really hoping for the 2,000, but we shall see. So, the money is really tight, they need the money.
Well, $1,000 is going to make the difference.
Could be another.
What's it, you have that sheet over there, what their whole budget is. It looked like they had they were coming out with money left to spend. You just showed it to Jen.
That's a projected budget for
Yeah,
the
they
future.
had extra 6,000 sitting on the table,
Where did I put it? Here.
probably in there, if I recall.
Well, right now, we're looking at a lot of cutbacks, possibly even closing the office. This is a projected budget with some of the coming in. We're looking at trying to get some other people to rent a piece of the office. We're really looking at every single penny and trying to, you know, make this organization last. Yeah, this is a preliminary budget for 2015. This isn't the current finances that we have, you know, on the table right now.
How it serves us to look at, if it's not current.
This is a preliminary budget for
And
2015.
it shows that they have a gain, they have a surplus. If I recall when I looked at it the last time, I don't have it with me now.
Yeah, it shows $6,750 gain,
For the fiscal year 2015,
2015.
right,
Yeah.
for 2015, yeah.
Oh.
It's not the current, what we have on our monthly expenses right now. So they are in real need of money. So, Paul, do you want to weigh in?
Well, I'm just, you know, I did second it, but I just thinking, you know, that, you know, if they're in that tough a shape, $1,000 is not gonna tilt the boat back to being equilibrium. I think that, you know, I may have to rethink my second on that, and I think I'll go for 1,000.
Okay. So, it looks like the vote's going to go for an additional 1,000, but I'm going to go on the record for voting in support of this and taking it from there and see who supports it and who doesn't. So this is number 6. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I withdrew my second.
I withdrew the second, so it's not even a motion on the table. Okay, so when it comes to the vote, just so that everyone knows, I'm going to vote not to support the 1,000, and I'm going to make the statement that I wish that it were 2,000, unless it's better
I
off.
make a motion that we increase their funding by $1,000.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I am opposed because I was really hoping that that could have been 2,000 versus the 1,000. And so the motion goes 4-1-0. So if that's quoted in the paper, my nay vote was to keep that piece at it, to increase it to 2,000, to match the dues of the other towns. That was number 6, and number 7, I'd like to make a motion to Easter seals for 1,000. Do we have a second?
Oh, yeah, I have some questions about this, though. How did this come to light? We talked about this slightly, and are they self-funded by, they're not local, well, they are local, because they have, I know they have an organization there on Robinson Street, if I'm not mistaken, but right in town. And their means are relatively significant in the state. But we've never done this in the past, so I want to know how they got on here, because I would certainly want to contribute to them, but I don't know enough about how this came to light, so.
My conversations with Steve is that we have all of the agencies that are a line item. Easter Seals wrote us a letter
Oh,
to get
okay.
added. And my conversation, and correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, was, you know, how does somebody get added? And, you know, we have the list of people that we give for. I think they've been in town maybe 3, 4, or 5 years, I'm not sure. So they wrote us a letter, and then that's how it came in front of us.
Council received a letter, if I recall, it was in January, requesting $5,000 in program support.
All right, January
My
27th.
budget,
All right.
obviously, because I have never increased or provided new agency supports.
Steve, are there any criteria for what organizations can ask us for money? I mean, does it matter where they come from, or what kind of nonprofit organization they are?
I mean, there's been an evolution as far as name changes and affiliations. You know, Phoenix House started out as Simpatico back in 1973, that they aligned with Phoenix House. All of those have changed over the years. Many of them were much more local organizations years ago, yet have been really forced in terms of collaborative efforts to become larger agencies to be able to sustain changes in funding availability. So, no, there really is no way to get on the list other than to request and for the council to make a decision to add somebody new to the list.
Because Easter Seals is like a national organization, as far as I know.
Yeah.
And they're very well-funded, and I just don't know where we're going to stop. I mean, will we be United Way? Will it be Red Cross? I mean, these are taxpayers' dollars that we're donating money to organizations. I mean, literally, every organization has a great purpose, and we certainly support them privately with donations individually. I'm sure some of us here do. I just don't know where we say, how do we say yes to one, no to another? I mean, we've got to figure out which ones we're going to keep on the list, and these other organizations are extremely local. You know, Education Exchange, Chamber of Commerce, Wakefield Village Association, Washington County Regional Planning. I mean,
I think that, as I think that the president said before, we need to have these folks included in the meeting when they come and kind of state their case of why we should be giving them money and what they're going to use it for, not just a letter and a proposal to the manager. I think that would be, I think that's something we could revisit next year. But I think that at this point, we should say no and actually, as they say, you know, not kick the can down the road necessarily, but let them come and state their case.
I think that's a good point, very good point. No, it would be good to hear from them as to why the money would make a difference, and,
I think that information is included in the letter that they sent us. Says the use of the funding, a gift of $5,000, which we're only talking about $1,000, from the South Kingstown Town Council will be used to serve those families who cannot afford the cost of treatment at the pediatric outpatient program because they are uninsured or underinsured, specifically those families whose insurance does not pay for this service. You know, insurance pays for some service and not for others, or limits the number of sessions they are able to participate in. So I think they've already answered. The impact of this gift would be significant as it would provide 75 one-hour therapy sessions. The number of individuals served will fluctuate as some individuals require therapies 3 times per week, while others require a less intensive schedule. If the entire request cannot be awarded, the number of therapies would reduce accordingly. So it's for people that, you know, can't afford or can't get the amount of services that have been recommended, and it's, you know, to me, it's the families here in South Kingstown. So that's what it would support.
Yeah, I certainly appreciate their mission. I've always contributed to them every year. And also, too, even when they come to town here, I know the local company, the Muse, the last few years has raised $35,000 for them. I know just at those events, I've offered a couple $100 that I've always thrown in the hat. And I agree with Carol Paul here. I want to see them personally because I think this is really inviting every firm that has, I shouldn't say firm, but nonprofit, who has such professional people working for them. Easter Seals has professional development people, huge budgets, big expenses, big return, big money that they raise. This is something so beyond what our small little, in agencies, out agencies, all of them can do here. I'm looking at Narrow River, I'm looking at Peacedale, Wakefield Village. They've got nothing like this. These people are pros. And I just can't support any contribution for them this year. And I'm worried that if we do, we're going to be looking at many, many other institutions that, who are professionally run, professional development offices who are going to need money.
Okay. So, Dale, could you just read back the motion, please?
The motion was made by you, Ella, to make a contribution to Lucasville in the amount of $1,000 for the contract.
Okay. So no second. So we're just going to leave it, somebody's going to make a motion to cut it. No, it's going to stay, it's just going to stay at 0. So we don't need a motion. Correct?
That's right.
Okay. All right, and again, even though there's no motion, I hope I'm quoted that rah-rah Easter seals. I'll have to increase my personal donation. So, all right, we are good with the 7, and
Are we stopping there, or can we throw something else out on the table?
Got some other stuff.
Jim, did you want to add other things to the 7?
Yeah, I've got to tell you, I was so impressed by a young man at the Peacedale Neighborhood Revitalization. They're under reorganization. They're obviously disorganized, but I'd love to offer $500 to them. Encouragement to keep getting organized. I really thought, I was so impressed by his honesty and, want to get down to hard work on that. I'd like to give him a little head start with the $500, which might help with some mailings and some postcards and whatnot out there. So I'm asking a motion then of $500 for the Peacedale Neighborhood Revitalization, Inc.
Any second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? Can we get some consensus?
I could go with that.
Meg?
Yes.
I could live with that, too. So we have motion and second. Any further discussion? Ready to vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries 500. Any others, Jim?
No, I'm good with that.
Meg?
No, I'm fine.
Paul?
I need just a few bucks. No, I'm just kidding.
We started with that. I was willing to support that, but
I
it
know,
didn't
I
get
was
anywhere, so.
Just kidding. So should we move on to question B then?
All right, so nothing else for the top. All right. So we need a motion, Steve, for the 2 bond referendums?
No, what I'd like you to do is I would like you to adopt the amended budget.
You have a new total?
Budget at
Yeah,
$74,866,254.
yeah, okay.
This is a adjustment up of $7,230.
So that includes all our FICA, everything.
It's,
That's correct.
7,002, I got 7,500.
I'm sorry, $7,730.
Oh.
yeah.
I'm sorry, there was people talking. Could you say it one more time, please?
$7,730 is the increase from the proposed budget to what the adopted amended budget will be.
Thank you.
And what would that do? What is that going to do to the bottom line? We're still going to be pretty, I mean, the people should be pretty happy.
It's going to be a $5 tax rate increase at least.
Ah.
Meg.
We probably won't
Great to
even
live
move
in
it.
South Kingstown. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
The budget as presented was about 4 cents. We're still in that 4-cent range.
It's fine.
There's still a lot of work that's yet to be completed as far as the taxable roll is concerned, and that won't be completed until we certify on June 15th. My forecast is still in that 3 to 5 cent range. This change is not going to, wouldn't add even a penny
It's great.
as far as the rate is concerned, based on what we forecast the roll to be. So it's it doesn't have a material impact on the budget as presented.
It's perfect. That's what we want. We want the taxpayers to be happy.
Okay, so we don't need a motion on B, and we don't need a motion on,
Well, we need a motion,
Yeah, we need
I'm
a
going to
motion
make a
on A.
motion to amend the budget from the original $74,858,524 to an increase that includes $7,730 as an increase. The amended amount is $74,866,254.
Second.
motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ready to vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries 500.
Okay, the second item that I listed for you on bond referendum is that the capital improvement program that was adopted by the council in January includes bonding authorizations to be placed before the voters in 2 referendum questions in November of 2014. To have that occur would require the council to place a resolution asking General Assembly to provide authorization for placement on the ballot. I don't need a motion tonight. What we do need is that the finance director will be directed to work with bond counsel to be able to draft the necessary legislation. What I wouldn't want to do is to just ask the General Assembly to place it on the ballot, because their bond counsel would then prepare the legislation. What I would rather do is to have Trish in contact with the bond counsel to draft the necessary legislation and bring that to the council, who would then ask the local legislators to introduce. It's on here just to be able, as an information item at this point, if there's disagreement that you do not wish us to seek that bonding legislation for consideration in November, we will need to know that as we go forward.
I think we're pretty much in support of,
What are the bonds? Yep.
so no motion necessary, but we're all in support.
So what we'll do is Trish will work with council to be able to get the legislation in a position for council consideration before General Assembly goes out. The third item that I've listed is, as we've talked about the budget throughout all of our sessions, we've indicated that this year the budget included a restatement and a new chart of accounts. With the restatement of the current 13-14 year budget, what I'm asking the council to consider is a resolution that we drafted this afternoon that would be a resolution amending the town council's adopted 2013-14 municipal budget program to include the new chart of accounts presented in the town manager's proposed 2014-15 municipal budget program, and to authorize the reallocation of the 13-14 budgeted appropriations and revenues as presented in said program and identified as, quote, 13-14 restated appropriations and revenues. The reason I ask you to do this is that it goes along with Jim's question earlier. What we've done is to reassign appropriations to the various departments. So while we had a budget of $4,000 for probate judge, that probate judge really includes the FICA that's associated with it, so we've moved that into that line item. Based on the budget adoption that you have, it would show that we were overspending the $4,000 appropriation if we don't have the amendment and the reallocation of all those funds. So simply to keep it so that you've got a restated budget, a new chart of accounts, and a reallocation, I'd ask you to pass that resolution that I've just read to you.
Okay, can we have a motion?
move we,
Exactly, that's what Steve just stated.
I move we adopt the resolution to, let's see, for restated budget for the year 13 to 14 and a new chart of accounts.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Any questions? Ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries 500.
I should also clarify that it's not just the general fund, but it's all of our municipal programs, because we've restated all of our enterprise funds and special revenue funds as well. And the other thing that this will do is it'll allow us to be able to, when we put the 15-16 year budget together, have the actual expenses that were incurred in 13-14 resident to that document.
Could I ask a question?
Mhm.
Because that motion was just stated as 2013 to 2014, which is fine because it's presented in this budget, but it's the proposed, if I'm not mistaken, 2014 to 2015
That's-
budget, so that, should we correct that?
No, it is correct. It's the,
Okay.
we're amending the 13-14 budget as presented in the 14-15 year budget. So if you look at the second line,
Okay.
it says the 14-15
Yep.
year.
Okay,
So we haven't restated 14-15 because we haven't adopted that one yet.
okay, all
Okay.
right.
Okay, in D, does anybody want to make any motions? If there's no motions, we just leave everything the way it is. We all good with?
Right.
Okay. All right. Do you need any other work from this town council tonight, Mr. Alfred?
I think you've completed your work.
Again, we can't say enough, this budget that you have put together. People in South Kingston are very fortunate. So thank you again to all the town staff, this town council, Steve and Trish, Dale, everybody, Colleen, for all of the work that you've done, and Andy, and as well as the school committee and all of the school administration staff. So, thank you. Could we have a motion to adjourn?
Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, and we adjourned at
Happy St.
5:50.
Patrick's
Happy St. Patrick's Day.